coffee cup trembled in Ethan Walker's hand the moment he saw her walking straight toward his table, because the last time a stranger in an expensive dress had looked at him like that, it had been a lawyer telling him his wife wasn't coming home. He didn't know her name yet. He didn't know that the woman standing over him asking if she could sit controlled a company that had quietly been paying his daughter's medical bills for the past 8 months. He only knew that his coffee was getting cold. His daughter was waiting for him at school pickup in 90 minutes, and he had absolutely no idea his entire life was about to change over a shared table at a small corner cafe. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories that remind us how much good still exists in this world, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment below. Share this with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Enlightened Story so you never miss a story like this one again. Ethan was 36 years old and had been raising his 7-year-old daughter Grace alone for the past 2 years. Ever since the accident that took her mother, he worked as a freelance carpenter, taking whatever jobs he could find because steady work was hard to come by when your daughter had a heart condition that required constant monitoring and frequent hospital visits. Money was always tight, sleep was always short, and hope was a luxury he rationed carefully, like the last few dollars in his wallet before payday. That morning, he had allowed himself 10 quiet minutes in the cafe before the chaos of the day began. A small ritual he protected fiercely because it was the only stillness he had. The woman who approached him was Victoria Sinclair, though he wouldn't learn her name for several more minutes. She was the founder and CEO of a foundation that funded pediatric heart treatments for families who couldn't afford them. A foundation she had built in secret after losing her own younger brother to a heart defect when she was a teenager. She never used her name publicly. She never appeared in press photos with the children her foundation helped. She believed that giving should never come with a spotlight, so she funded everything anonymously through a legal trust. And she made it a habit to occasionally visit the cities where her foundation operated just to feel closer to the lives she was changing, even if those lives never knew her face. She had noticed Ethan before that morning, not personally, but through a file on her desk weeks earlier, a case summary about a single father and his daughter Grace, whose surgery had been approved for full funding. She had read his story buried inside spreadsheets and medical reports, the kind of story that usually stayed reduced to numbers and case IDs. Something about it had stayed with her. So when she happened to see him sitting alone in that cafe, looking exhausted in a way she recognized immediately, the same exhaustion she remembered from her own family's hardest years, she felt an inexplicable pull to sit beside him just for a moment, just to share space with the man whose daughter's life her foundation had quietly saved. She asked if she could sit with him, and Ethan, startled and a little embarrassed by his worn jacket and tired eyes, said, "Of course," though he had no idea why a woman who looked like she belonged in a boardroom would want to sit with a carpenter nursing his second cup of black coffee. They talked. At first, it was small talk, the weather, the noise of the cafe, the croissants on the counter. But conversation has a way of peeling back layers when two people are honest. And slowly Ethan found himself telling her about Grace, about the surgery scheduled for next month, about how he had spent the last year terrified he wouldn't be able to afford it, and how miraculously a foundation had stepped in and covered everything when he had almost given up hope. Victoria sat very still as he spoke. She recognized every detail because she had read the file herself. She recognized Grace's name. She recognized the hospital. She recognized the surgeon. She was sitting across from the very man she had helped, and he had no idea. And for a moment, she considered staying silent and simply enjoying being just once an ordinary woman sharing coffee with a stranger instead of a billionaire surrounded by board meetings and acquisition reports. But something in Ethan's voice, the way gratitude cracked through his exhaustion when he talked about the foundation that saved his daughter, made her chest tighten with an emotion she hadn't expected. She asked him gently what he would say to the people behind that foundation if he ever had the chance. Ethan paused, looked down at his coffee, and said that he would tell them they didn't just save his daughter's life. They saved his ability to believe in people again. Because after his wife died, he had started to believe the world only took from him, never gave. He said he would tell them that somewhere out there, a stranger had decided his daughter's life mattered enough to fight for. And that kind of decision changes a person forever, makes them want to be kinder, too, to pay it forward in whatever small way they can. Victoria felt her eyes sting. And for the first time in years, sitting in a foundation board meeting or a hospital wing surrounded by family she had helped, she felt truly seen, not as a donor, not as a name on a legal document, but as a person whose quiet decision had rippled into another human being's life in a way she never got to witness up close. She didn't tell him who she was. Not yet. She simply reached over, squeezed his hand, and told him that whoever was behind that foundation would be deeply moved to know how much their decision meant, and that sometimes the people who give never expect anything back. They just hope quietly that it mattered. As she stood to leave, she left a folded napkin on the table with a note that read only this: "Your daughter's surgery details details have been updated. There's a long-term care fund attached now, too. Tell Grace an old friend believes in her. Ethan didn't understand the message until weeks later when his caseworker confirmed an anonymous additional fund had been added, one that would cover Grace's care for years beyond the surgery. He never saw Victoria again in that cafe, but he never forgot the woman who sat down beside a stranger and left him with more hope than he'd had in 2 years. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still exists in this world. Because stories like Ethan and Grace's deserve to be seen and felt by as many people as possible. Before you go, I want to ask you something special. In the comments below, tell me one small act of kindness you witnessed or experienced that changed how you saw the world, even if it seems small at the time. Because sometimes the smallest moments carry the biggest weight. Ethan never learned Victoria's full story. Not in detail, not her name on a foundation letterhead. But he carried that morning with him for the rest of his life. A reminder that sometimes the people who save us are sitting quietly across the table, asking simply, "Can I sit with you?"